And we are continuing today with our review of the 7 factors of awakening. If you've been with the Daily Sit for a while, you know that we've been spending a lot of time on this topic, actually, the better part of a year. And that is not because these factors are esoteric or hard to understand, but it's because they're so important to our movement towards more ease and peace in our lives. The Buddha said, "Bhikkhus, I do not see even one thing that, when developed and cultivated, leads to the abandoning of the things that fetter as effectively as this, the 7 factors of enlightenment." I know for myself that sometimes I feel pretty far away from abandoning the fetters that bind me. And the sense of being awake in my life seems kind of distant. I sometimes feel like it's only the special person who could even come close to this idea of freedom. And yet, in reality, I know this just is not true. Each one of these factors are very familiar qualities of mind. And every single one of us has experienced them in our lives from time to time, whether we're meditators or not. I'm sure we all can recall instances when we were alert and aware of exactly what was happening in the moment. Times when something really interested us and we wanted to know more. That feeling of being energized and engaged, and the happiness and contentment that came from that. The focus and flow of experience that arose when we were totally involved in a project we really enjoyed, and the sense of well-being that came when we were able to disentangle ourselves from something that was happening around us and could see a difficult situation a bit more clearly. These qualities, they are familiar and fairly accessible to us, at least in moments. We sometimes might even look at them as somewhat ordinary parts of our experience. And at the same time, they are quite extraordinary because they offer us the possibility of finding absolute freedom from our suffering. Tenisarow says, the path to awakening is built out of very ordinary day-to-day things, like mindfulness and alertness. It's simply that when you learn how to look at them in a new way, to analyze them in a new way, and to develop and use them in a new way, they take you all the way to awakening. They are ordinary and yet profoundly extraordinary. They're simple, and yet they are so significant to our progress on this path. And this is so heartening to me. It's a reassurance that we all have this capacity. We already know in ourselves the component parts that allow us to move in this direction of more ease and more peace in our lives. We don't need to learn something new. We only need to commit to their development instead of just enjoying them by chance. And then they can change us. So this is what we've been doing over these past months. We've been focusing on how we can cultivate the 7 factors so that they grow within us, so that they can blossom and become extraordinary. Like so much of what we learn on this path, this sounds simple, but it's not always easy to practice in the midst of our hectic lives and in the midst of this crazy world. We're constantly challenged. And I think the biggest challenge is to remember to be mindful. Because without mindfulness, the other factors don't have as much of a chance of arising. Mindfulness is the foundation on which all of the other factors rest. So if we're not mindful, how do the other ones grow and blossom within us? When our mindfulness strengthens and our mind steadies, we can notice what's needed in this moment. Do I need energizing or calming? What's alive? And we can begin to practice with the other factors as needed. Over these past months, Bill and Susan and the other teachers, we've all offered a lot of guidance, techniques, reassurances to bring these factors alive for you and more present in your practice. And today, instead of adding to that, I'm just going to read a few poems to you that point to some of these factors. I often use poetry to inspire me, to set me on the path again, and to remind me to remember. I need that a lot. So many mornings I begin my practice in this way by reading a poem to get me in the mood. So I want to share with you just a few that touch me. And in them, you might hear the ordinary and also the extraordinary of mindfulness, interest, energy, joy, calm, concentration, and equanimity. Don't try too hard, but let the poems flow through you and notice what the felt sense is. I have a lot of favorites. And as I was thinking about this talk, it was Ryokan who I was drawn to. So what I'm going to share are a number of poems from Ryokan. He was a Zen monk in the 16th century who lived by himself in a small hut deep in the woods in Japan. And he was such an interesting man. He was very human and ordinary, and so easy to relate to. In these poems, you'll hear he often overindulged. He liked to drink sake, and he was pretty mischievous and loved to play with the children nearby. He experienced challenging emotional states similar to all of us. For him, it was often loneliness and sadness. And yet, he was so clear and awake in his life. So here are a few. The thief left it behind. The moon at my window. The thief left it behind. The moon at my window. The village has disappeared in the evening mist, and the path is hard to find. I return to my lonely hut, walking through the pines. First days of spring, blue sky, bright sun, Everything is gradually becoming fresh and green. Carrying my bowl, I walk slowly to the village. The children, surprised to see me, joyfully crowd about, bringing my begging trip to an end at the temple gate. I place my bowl on top of a white rock and hang my sack from the branch of a tree. Here we play with the wild grasses and throw a ball. For a time, I play catch while the children sing, and then it's my turn. Playing like this, here and there, I have forgotten the time. Passerbys point and laugh at me, asking, "What is the reason for such foolishness?" No answer I give, only a deep bow. Even if I replied, they would not understand. Look around. There's nothing besides this. Oh, that my priest's robes were wide enough to gather up all the suffering people in this floating world. And what is the heart of this old monk like? A gentle wind in a vast sky. So let's transition to our practice. And maybe as we begin, take a moment to remember your intentions, to notice and cultivate these ordinary yet extraordinary qualities of mind. Appreciating this body, offering it just what it requires right now. Really listening. And in your own time, coming into stillness. Resting in a posture which is both alert and full of ease. And inviting your attention inward to your inner experience. Maybe at first, just noticing the process of settling in your body, in your mind, in your heart. And invite a little more precision in your attention. relaxed at ease, but with the intention of present moment awareness. What is arising and what is passing? Offering the space to allow it all. Can you discern what is needed in your practice today to keep it alive and fresh? Maybe a bit more energy, maybe a bit more space, maybe calming. remembering again and again to return to presence. Thank you all for being here today.